Deep in the chasms beneath the volcanic Mount Valmai of Voya Nui on the southern continent, a great artifact rests, having been placed there by the great beings. Beams of light dash at impossible speed across the chamber before changing into a recognisable bipedal form. Giving his laser lance a flourish, he resumes his watch of the stairs, all 777 of them that lead to the Chamber of Life. This being is Umbra, charged with a final challenge to any intruders. In-universe, his name is somewhat of a misnomer, being the Matoran word for shadow. Coincidentally, in our world, Umbra is Latin for the darkest part of a shadow. Half a world away, Nui is engulfed in chaos. The trade dispute sees the great city factionalised into civil warfare, brought to an end by the Brotherhood of Makuta. The disruption to the city's ordinary functioning results in the severe weakening of Nui, known as the Great Disruption, and Jovan, leader of a newly created tower team, is charged with travelling to Voya Nui to retrieve the mask that had been sequestered there. This would be the first of 2 times that the Mask of Life was taken from its resting place, and the first of 2 times that Voya Nui played a significant role in the fate of the universe. Following the arrival of the Great Spirit, Jovan returned to Voya Nui and placed the Ignika back in the Chamber of Life. This completed his destiny as a Toa, and he became a Turaga of Voya Nui. Jovan served as the wise leader of Voya Nui Matoran, teaching them about the wider world through stories. These Matoran are who we owe the naming of the island to, for they were sent from Kazani's realm to the southern continent and named their new home Voya Nui in the Matoran language, translating roughly to Great Journey. Voya Nui for a while enjoyed a peaceful, largely uneventful history. A thick, verdant forest that covered much of the land, known as the Green Belt, concealed the entrance to the 777 stairs, at the bottom of which the Kanoe Ignika thrummed. Dagger spiders scuttled in the undergrowth, while high above the treetops, lava hawks circled Mount Valmai. A pair of powerful warriors from the Order of Matanui were posted on Voya Nui to serve as an additional line of defence for the Kanoe Ignika. These 2 beings, named Axon and Brutaka, were officially charged with being guardians of the Mask of Life. Then, this verdant idyll was abruptly brought to an end as the Great Cataclysm caused Jovan's home to rocket northwards out of the dome that enclosed the southern continent. The geological conditions surrounding Voya Nui saw it take its unique shape, and though this was a swift process, not all were fortunate enough to survive. Jovan, saviour of Matanui and beloved mentor to the Voya Nui Matoran, perished. The surviving Matoran were left cut off both physically and spiritually from the rest of the Matoran universe. Jovan had taught them of the wider world, and now he was gone, they needed guidance. Soon, they'd also need protection. Mount Valmai had become more active as a result of the geological shifts, and its molten contents flowed and cooled to form the cord, which anchored Voya Nui to its sundered counterpart beneath the waves, Mari Nui. From the BIONICLE activity books published by Amit, specifically the BIONICLE Baraki Book 3, we learn that the residents of Voya Nui would craft various objects representing their culture and way of life, which would fuel speculation and legends of the island's past in other parts of the universe. At some point during this intermission, a lone tow canister washes ashore. Without hesitation, its occupant makes a beeline for the Chamber of Life, evading the notice of the island's inhabitants. With knowledge of the Ignika given to him telepathically, along with his Skakdi brethren, the being named Vizon was cursed as soon as he touched the mask. Fusing a Fenrak spawn to this intruder, the Ignika gave itself a new guardian. Meanwhile, the other guardian, Brutaka, became disillusioned in his devotion to the Great Spirit. With Matanui's slumber, his faith also ebbed. Yet the surviving Matoran on the surface of Voya Nui knew nothing of this, and they waited. Days came and went without any visitors or news from the outside world, until, when the Voya Nui Matoran had all but forgotten what Toa looked like, 6 canisters washed ashore. They were ostensibly the Toa they had been waiting for. Things on Voya Nui were about to get very interesting. Enslaved by Zamaspheres, a foul invention of the Paraka, the Voya Nui Matoran constructed the Paraka Stronghold, a vast structure consisting of many rooms and chambers. In addition to this, they also forced the Matoran to hollow out the already volatile volcano of its lava in order to reveal the Kanoe Ignika, which they believed to be hidden inside. It goes without saying that this was an incredibly dangerous operation. Inevitably, Mount Valmai was to erupt again, and it was this that allowed the Toa Nuva, having arrived and been defeated by the Paraka, to escape and join up with the Matoran resistance. With the assistance of Axon and the recent arrival of the Toa Ignika, the pieces were in place for the final showdown of the Mask of Life. While the new team of Toa descended into the Chamber of Life, a duel between Axon and Brutaka raged. The latter's mask power caused an interdimensional portal to open and released the Tartorak and Kraka from the Zone of Darkness, where they had been trapped for nearly 1,000 years. Hundreds of feet below the battling warriors, the Chamber of Life was rocked by combat between the Tauri-Nika, Vizon, Fenrak, and later the Paraka. The properties of the lava in the chamber transformed Vizon's steed into the even more powerful Kardas. With the Mask of Life lost beneath the waves during the chaos of battle, Vizon was no longer tied to the Chamber of Life or Kardas and pursued the Tauri-Nika down the cord, followed by the Paraka, who were gradually devolving into eel-like monstrosities. Axon meanwhile finally defeated Brutaka, and Botar teleported him to the pit. Voya Nui then left the focus of the story, but its remaining inhabitants took refuge in the Nui Caves, while the cord was destroyed, and their land returned to its original place on the southern continent. Above these caves was the Cavern of Historical Records, where Voya Nui's history was told in stone. Elsewhere on the island was the Desert of Sorrows, and the Cape of No Hope, which I don't know if it's meant to be a play on words of the real-life Cape of Good Hope, which was a rocky peninsula battered by the sea and rarely visited by Matoran due to the presence of Rahi, such as lava apes and shore turtles. Most of the time though, the Voya Nui Matoran lived in their village, ringed by defensive walls and a base of operations for the Matoran resistance. It really wasn't called the Island of Doom for nothing.